Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music. I'm Brian Fox, and I'm going to start amping up my posts, getting into some more obscure bands, new bands, all kinds of bands, and then branching out into other forms of music eventually as well. But let's get right to it. Today, I want to talk about the Bob Seger system, and this is not about Bob Seger and his solo career. This is about a awesome band he had in 1969 and 1970. And we'll get into a little bit of the history first. Of course, Bob Seger was a giant in the local Detroit scene in the middle to late 60s, and with a band called Last Heard. And they had four singles on the Cameo Parkway label, which unfortunately folded at one point. But he had a couple of regional hits, including one really big one called Heavy Music. And it might have broken out nationally, except for the label folded. And I found it really interesting to find out that by 1969, when he formed the Bob Seger system, he was actually offered a contract with Motown Records because of his soulful voice. So that was new to me and pretty interesting. But the Bob Seger system was basically created out of the ashes of the Last Heard. Dan Honecker and Pep Perrine, bass player and drummer for the Last Heard, became the rhythm section for the new uh, Bob Seger system. And who could forget in 1969 when the gigantic national hit Ramblin' Gamblin' Man came out? And I'm sure anyone would recognize it if they heard it, even if they're not sure who did it. It opens with a absolutely iconic drum beat before a beautiful Hammond organ part chimes in, and then his incredible soulful vocals. And I also found out years later that Glenn Frey of the Eagles is actually the one who plays lead guitar on the Ramblin' Gamblin' Man single. And it's dear to my heart because when it came out and I heard it on the radio, I was floored, and I went out and bought that single. The B-side was a really moody little rocker called Tales of Lucy Blue, and it just solidified how great the band was. I actually didn't get the album till a couple of years later because I was a young teenager and it was hard for me to rustle up $3 to $4 to buy new records. But the history of the band is kind of interesting because Rush Out in 1969 was the second Bob Seger system album called Noah. And for some odd reason, Bob Seger brought in another singer-songwriter named Tom Neame. And unfortunately, that album is marred by absolutely brilliant Bob Seger pieces and then mixed with these very mediocre Tom Neame songs. So, of course, the album immediately plummeted, had no success whatsoever, and became a serious road bump for Bob Seger system. So apparently, Bob quit music briefly, went to college, and then was inspired and came back in 1970 to release the amazing rock album, Bob Seger System Mongrel. Um, Incredible record. I wasn't aware of it right off the bat, but then I watched a TV show about music called Up, and there was Bob Seger System playing a new song called Lucifer, and so I immediately went out and bought the album, and I've been thrilled about it ever since. It's got some incredible songs on it. They're all really incredible. A 7-minute live version of River Deep Mountain High that's really killer, but songs like Lucifer and Highway Child and Evil Edna and Song to Rufus still stand up, just being full on excellent rockers all the way around, incredible singing, just great organ, great guitar work, really everything that rock and roll should be. Of course, the mother lode is a song called Teachin' Blues, and it's just magnificent. If he'd only recorded that one song, it would still be legendary. But of course, that album didn't fare too well either. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I responded to it immediately, went out and paid full price, didn't buy it in cutouts, and later to find out it didn't sell that many copies. And of course it's so good. Of course it didn't sell very many copies. And so the band collapsed fairly soon after that. unfortunately, and then the Bob Seger solo career was launched. And I know I might hurt a few people's feelings, but that's what I'm here for. I'm not really a big fan of the Bob Seger solo career. He released a couple of initial solo albums, Smoking No Peas and Back in '72, that were pretty decent. Not as ferocious as the Bob Seger system, but pretty good classic rock Detroit uh, records. And then, of course, he had huge success with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. And I got to be honest with you, I have nothing but respect for the man. I think that work is quality, it's well crafted, but I hate it. I hate Bob Seger solo career. It doesn't resonate with me at all. And frankly, I felt betrayed and sold out because I love the Bob Seger system so much, and it had a little more vitality, a lot more rawness, a lot more excitement, and that's what I like. That's what I love about rock music. So Bob Seger's solo career is one of the things that makes me hate rock music. And so anyway, I just wanted to chime in. Bob Seger System, incredible band. Unfortunately, he seems to have turned his back on that period of his life. There hasn't been any big reissues and remasterings, although there was a version of Ramblin' Gambling Man that came out that has a live '74 disc attached. So there's finally at least some new stuff coming out and some remastering going on, which is great. But the records out there, Ramblin' Gambling Man and Bob Seger System, get decent prices now. I think you can probably get them between 20, 40, $50. A really good copy of Mongrel with the original gatefold sleeve and the original label can probably fetch 60 or 70, but well worth it. And they still sound killer to this day. And I also want to mention that on YouTube there's a couple of pretty cool live shows from the Bob Seger system around 1970. And you can hear the live ferocity of the band. Unfortunately, the sound quality is pretty piss poor. But for somebody like me to hear the original Bob Seger system live, even with these crappy tapes and these crappy recordings, is enlightening. And I'm glad to have them out there. Maybe someday a full-on live recording of the Bob Seger system in 1970 may surface, but it's been a while and probably not likely. But there you have it. Thanks for joining me. I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music.